Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here for Popternative, speaking to Titus, Mimi, and Madison about Bosch Legacy coming to Amazon Freevee. Thank you all for your time.
Of course, thank you.
This is so exciting. This is really cool. Titus, I mean, everyone's really familiar with Bosch. Same character, but completely different show. Exciting mindset a little bit for you coming into the show.
Well, it is a continuation rather than being a spinoff.
Yeah.
But you know, the circumstances are different. He's not a cop anymore.
No.
And you know, it goes back to the world that initially is what inspired Michael Connelly to create Bosch, was his love of noir and the private eye. And he's, you know, finally achieved that in the later books when Bosch leaves the department. So now to be able to realize that after doing Bosch for all those years, I think for both of us, it's been something that's interesting, because he's still the same guy, but he's kind of at sea. He's kind of, you know, I don't want to say wandering aimlessly, but he's kind of waiting for something to happen.
I always found that was interesting too, because it's, you said a continuation, but I just feel like all the characters are just going through a lot of different things. So I feel like that's a little bit of like a challenge sometimes, maybe as an actor kind of going into that. So well said there. Mimi, it's interesting as well, because, you know, there's a lot of serious undertone, a lot of important issues surrounding your character this season as well. There's a lot of issues with post-traumatic stress, and I really think it's important to address these issues and everything. So what's that like, continuation of the storylines, but there's some very important heavy subject matter. Can you even prepare yourself for a role like that for this season?
Well, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that, because one of my primary concerns was having a very realistic, visceral portrayal of the post-trauma and what the consequences would really look like. And you know, I made some physical changes. I lost weight. I wanted to appear shrunken a little bit frailer, because a physical recovery from what happened to her is something that takes so much time and is so painful. So she has physical and emotional and psychic pain and scarring. And I really wanted to portray this in as realistic a fashion as possible. And different people respond to trauma in different ways. Some people kind of cave in on themselves and are consumed by fear and anxiety and can't go out in the world. My choice for Chandler was much more about a deep and pathological and murderous rage.
Yes.
That leaks out from time to time. Like, she is not the stable Chandler that we were used to. Like, she's still Chandler, but at unexpected moments, you will see this rage kind of explode out of her. And it also necessitated a change in direction professionally, because right now, the quest and the passion is for justice for herself. And also there's a certain solace to be gained in finding justice for anybody that she can do it for.
And I will say, I've seen Bosch Legacy. You do an amazing job. So I just wanted to say that very quickly.
Thank you.
Madison, very cool storyline, interesting kind of storyline, because it's kind of just, you're seeing your character who we've seen in Bosch. It's just kind of like learning the ropes, so to speak, rookie police officer. And I just feel like that's interesting as well, because what Titus said at the beginning of the interview, continuation, but there is a very it's completely different specifically for your storyline, your character a little bit. So I was wondering, what was it like kind of seeing that on script and then seeing that kind of growth and transformation on screen when you were filming it for your character?
It was very exciting. It was definitely a challenge, because there was that 1.5 year jump. And in that time, she went through the academy, coming from the trauma that she went through with almost losing Honey and almost being killed herself. So it was definitely a big jump maturity wise, and I really wanted to make sure that I portrayed that. You know, she started off season 7 sort of trying to find her place in the world, and then in Bosch Legacy she's found it. So that's a big jump, and I wanted to portray the maturity as well as that drive, that desire to do well and succeed where she's chosen to be, and it was really cool to do it.
She put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, that's
she put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Physically, I did have to do that as well.
She's not a waif anymore.
Wow. It's so crazy to see that and the preparation. And there was just a lot of really, really heavy subject matter in your storylines for this show for Bosch Legacy. So I can't even imagine just the nonstop preparation. Titus, I find it interesting too, because Bosch, is a character we are very familiar with. And at one point, there was the announcement that Bosch on Prime Video was the final season. There was going to be no Bosch. I'm just curious, while you were filming, the final couple seasons of Bosch, was there a little bit of a possibility in your head that you might reprise this character at some point in a new show, a spinoff, a continuation, or is this like a surprise to you a little bit coming on the show? I'm curious about that.
Well, we had talked about a couple of years ago, long before we thought that it was going to be a final season. Mike and I and Henrik had been talking about doing standalone Bosch films based on specific books. Okay. So maybe in between seasons we would do a feature, but rather than doing what we were doing on the show, that they would be they're making faces, aren't they? So we kind of talked about that, and then when that conversation came back up again, when we knew that it was going to be the final season, well, maybe what we should do is we should come back and do like an annual film. But then we were in the thick of COVID, trying to get the final season produced. It was, very, very high stress, anxiety, despite, everyone's efforts to make it, as much as we could, the norm. There was nothing normal about it. And so we slogged through, and it was the most difficult season that we had ever done. So there had been mutterings, and we'd had conversations about the possibility of doing a spin-off. Maybe we would just have Harry go off and become a private detective, or this and that. But we were also really, deeply ensconced in what we were doing, and so it was sort of, mutterings, and then the conversation became real. And when they told me, the idea of what they wanted to do with Legacy, it became very exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But we couldn't really talk about it because nothing was in stone yet. Nobody was, speaking in specifics. So when it finally it became real, and we were able to talk about it for the three of us, and we were very excited, and also we've been able to bring some of the Bosch characters that everyone knows and loves. They get to kind of pop into the universe, and so there's still that thread that's there. But the show, it's autonomous to a certain degree, but it's also really, as I said, just a straight continuation, next chapter, if you will.
Well, before we wrap up too, Mimi, I think it's pretty cool because a lot of people I know watch Bosch, and a lot of people, found out about Bosch when season 3 or 4 was on, and kind of caught up, did the 3 seasons, and then, waited. And the hype around this is immense. When I told people about this, it was like, I'm in right away. You know what I mean? And Amazon Freevee announcement and everything. It's pretty exciting. I feel like that's all you could say right now, right? Me and Madison, it's exciting right now.
Oh, it's incredibly exciting. I mean, you have your MCU, we have the BCU, the Bosch Cinematic Universe. And we're just gonna take it as far as it can go.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank you all for your time. Bosch Legacy on Amazon Freevee. Thank you all for your time. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.